Go ahead and just swap to the other side. I'm gonna move over this way.
I won't do it unless these people don't put out the real storehouse.
Why are you think they were the sheriffs in this video were asking for you by name? Why were they asking for you by name?
I think because of this bigger picture, there's a lot of stuff going on. We have lawsuits, we have allegations of judicial corruption in the courts, the clerks, court clerks, and also, of course, the incident with Joe. We're working on all these things, and police brutality, and we've researched all this, the corruption in Kern County. We're getting deep into all of the whole big picture here, and they basically gave me an ultimatum of 48 hours. This guy said, if you do not, they said I can arrest you right now for methamphetamine or something, alleged that I was on drugs, which was all fabrication. And then he threatened to fabricate methamphetamine drug test results to keep me in jail. Said he would arrest gang members, put them in a cell, and then put me in a cell with him. And he said that if I didn't say what he wanted, he would tell them that they were in there for because of me and put me in a cell with him. And what would they do then?
He's gonna say he came to that house looking for you because Joe Baker didn't pay that money and you co-signed. So as a co-signer, I assume you owe the money. Could you give them that money?
It said that I would not be held responsible for the full amount, only $1,500.
Would you give them that amount though? Is that why they were after you?
Yeah, we put $1,500 down to bail them out. Yes, that's what we used to bail them out. $1,500, 10% of the $15,000.
But was that the co-sign agreement?
Yes.
So you did the co-sign agreement.
Yeah, they said the only thing that I would be held responsible would be $1,500. That's in the small print that I read.
And you paid that $1,500?
Yes, we put the $1,500 up. I don't owe the money. Here's what happened. After they raided her house, they came down to my father. They pointed 2 military Glocks guns to my head and said if I moved, they'd blow me away. And they interrogated me for almost an hour, probably maybe 45 minutes. I had another friend inside my dad's house, and they went in and out of there interrogating her. And basically, he confronted me with the bail information and asked me, is this your signature? And the thing is, that was all gotten under threat of death.
How do you know Joe Baker?
Met him on the internet. He was traveling through the United States and apparently came to Bakersfield.
But why would you give him that sum of money? I mean, you trusted him?
Joe had been threatened with death that night. They said it looks like he committed suicide, and they were stomping on his head and neck. So we had no choice but to bail him out. I've called and in distress and had told me that she hasn't been able to contact him, didn't know where he was. He had gotten a message to her on the phone that he'd been badly treated, and said she had checked the local law enforcement agencies and that he apparently was arrested and he was at the Lerdo facility, and she would like us to try to find out what's going on and what condition he was in. We were sitting at the back of the court. You could hear this big bang throughout the court. They slammed him against the wall after they got him, and then the judge smiled. He was in ankle chains and could hardly walk, and 2 of them were forcing him out of court before he had even been done talking to the judge, opened the door and forced him through the door, and then we heard a bang bang, very vicious, and we knew right then that he was, probably because he was a foreigner, he wasn't being treated equally, and there's horror stories about pattern and practice of Bakersfield police.
Joe is a sovereign also. He did have a Wisconsin driver's license and license plates. He only has those by force because the law does not teach people that they have the right to travel, and that driving or a license is only licensing a right, which is actually a criminal act in and of itself. If you look at the real law and not these statutes and acts and codes and addendums that they add to the law, which do not apply to people. These only apply by people's consent.
And this is BPD was who Joe originally.
I think it was the sheriff.
It was sheriff? Okay, so it was sheriffs in both cases. It wasn't Bakersfield Police in both.
I think it was the sheriff.
These people they came to Star's house. How do you know Star?
At the time that I was put in touch with her, she had 2 things going on. She had the bank thing, but she needed help with the incident in Marin.
They've sent the sheriffs to my house twice to evict me unlawfully.
She'd been inundated, and basically she's in distress. she's living alone, and she's had these things going on, and basically being terrorized for quite a while. Another threat the guy made, he said, "Do you know how many people?" This wasn't the bail bond. This was the guy in the middle. When you see the video on her house, the deputy in the middle, he put his hand over the camera. He was the one that made all these threats to me, and he's the one who was the last one out of her house. He told me, "Do you know how many people we've shot in Kern County this year?" And I said, "No," and he said, 20. And then he says, "Do you know how many got back up?" And he repeated that 3 times, and he would vary his statement. He would say, "Do you know how many of them do you think lived? How many of them do you think didn't die?" He repeated it over and over. It was terrorism. They did a psychological operation to scare me.
Back away from me. Back away from me.
We got some info.
You're in my private home.
Back away from
You are
me.
giving me orders in my private home?
I'm ordering you to back away.
And basically they said, "We could arrest you right now, but the bail bond officer wants to give you an opportunity to cooperate. And how much time do you want to give him? 24 hours? He says, "No, I'll give him 48 hours. And then this guy says, "Okay, if you don't cooperate in 48 hours and produce information about where Joe Baker is, I will personally come down here and arrest you and put you in jail."
I'm a
to see your
deputy sheriff.
warrant.
You're going to go to jail in about a second.
Can we actually just get that message from your phone? Can we listen to
Yes,
it?
sure.
My name is Mark. Trying to get in touch with you. If you can call back, please, at 661-979-3579. Thank you.
So he's from the bail bonds? He's the one that said, "I don't need a warrant"?
Yeah, with the beard, the black. He's got a black flap jacket.
I have a bench warrant.
Where is it?
I don't actually need a bench warrant.
I want to see it.
I'm a bail enforcement agent.
I want to see your warrant.
We listened, and he wanted a face-to-face meeting, but he wouldn't answer our questions. And the way he, was talking, and I had no idea what he was going to do. And now I'm glad I didn't, because, and he brings all these people to my door and points guns in my head like I'm a.
So you talked to him twice, and then all of a sudden he shows up at your door?
About a week later.
And you talked to him twice, and you said,
Okay.
"What did you say to him?"
But we were asking him, he said, "Well, you're a co-signer on bail bonds," and we said, "Well, could you fax that over?" And he just avoided it. He said, "I can't fax it over right now, I'm on the road. I would like a face-to-face with you, a meeting, and I could show it to you and explain this process." And he was like in a hurry, And he said, "I'm on the road right now, I'm in my car." And then he asked, the address they had for Joe was just when he was using it, was in Visalia and Demery Street. It wasn't, they didn't have any location anywhere else. So he basically told me, he traced me to Star's house, not Joe. So they tracked me to her house. They had no information that Joe was there. They've been operating under executive emergency war power since '33. They're the executive branch, and if you research executive emergency war power, you will find out that's why they're violating the law. They're just still under the emergency, and it's military. They're all trained by the military and by the feds.
You have better lighting if you shoot from this side.
Have you lived in the home that the deputies came to? How long have you lived there?
Well, my grandfather built it in 1942, and I took care of my grandmother there until she died. My grandfather also died in the house.
So you have like a history here in Kern County?
Yes. They have harassed my friends in front of my house, arrested them, and then later said that it was a mistaken identity. But they were outside of my home for approximately an hour, going around talking to my neighbors, asking them questions about me.
Were you home alone that day?
Yes.
And they were looking for 2 other people, but they still came into your home. I mean,
Yes, they seem to be more interested in Alan than they did even in Joe. Police assaulted Joe. He was allegedly going too slow in an alley where there are no posted speed limit signs.
They slammed him in the courtroom. We heard the big bang. We had to get him out of there because we feared for his life. I'm the one behind the legal papers against the bank and the allegations against judges and racketeering. And that's really what's behind it. They just want to scare us out of town.